Episode 157 of The Actors Room. The title, Russell Sams Recap. The interview went very well. There were a few things that didn't go well in the interview. We'll get to that. So, please sit back. Please relax. And I hope you enjoy this edition of The Actors Room, a recap for my first interview. So here we go. It was so much fun doing the interview with Mr. Russell Sams. And I wanted to do this episode just to give my audience, anyone who cares, a little behind the scenes look into what it took to get the interview going, what sort of happened during that process. I also want to talk about the week leading up to the interview and the interview itself that day and the editing process as well after the interview. I mean, this was sort of an eye-opening experience for me. And as you know, people that listen to my show, this was my very first interview. I've thought about doing them in the past. Even, I'm talking about 8 years ago. It sort of was always there, the idea of an interview. And I have asked people in the past, not many, just a few people, about the possibility of coming on my show, just having a conversation and so on. It never happened, and I just sort of let it go, thinking my show is just going to be what it is. Just me, maybe my brother now and again, but the opportunity presented itself about 2 months ago. Well, actually, what is this? This is March. The opportunity presented itself, I want to say, early November. Yes, I would say early November of last year. I was doing research on Boogie Nights, the film with Mark Wahlberg, the PTA movie. And I sort of got wrapped up in doing research on John Holmes. And as you know, Boogie Nights is based on, for the most part, the porn star legend John Holmes. And his story, I'm fascinated with it. I just am. Anything that I can't wrap my head around, like people that can do porn, for instance, it blows my mind. But anyway, I find John Holmes just incredibly fascinating, watching him in the few interviews he did. And I'm going to come out, and I've never seen his work. I just haven't. I'm just fascinated with him, okay? His story, his journey. And he was involved in a very, very interesting circumstance, murders, called the Wonderland Murders. And in the process of doing the research on him, I decided to sit myself down one night in November of last year to watch a movie called Wonderland, starring Val Kilmer. Kilmer plays Holmes. And there were some interesting, I want to say, casting choices made for the people in this film. Kate Bosworth was in it, big role. Dylan McDermott doing sort of a different kind of role for him in this. And as you know, if a movie doesn't grab me right away when I sit down to watch it for the first time, I'm uninterested. Either I turn it off or I'm on my phone half watching the film. With Wonderland, I paid attention. It held my attention. I was watching every moment. And when I explained in the interview with Russell, It was about halfway through the film, and it's a party scene. So a lot of people, a lot of actors in the scene. And it's sort of a complicated story you have to follow. Dylan McDermott's character is doing a voiceover. And during that scene, the camera pans over to a group of actors/characters walking from one side of the room to the other. Folks, I'm not kidding. Probably a 7 to 8 second scene. And as these actors walked from here to there, one of those actors I noticed just by his walk. And I'm not kidding. I didn't see his face really. He didn't say anything. But that walk was so familiar or distinct to me that it stuck out. And of all the things in that movie that stuck out to me was that. And I found that fascinating because that walk looked so familiar. I was reminded of an actor that I really like, and especially his character in Rules of Attraction, Richard. That after I watched him walk, I thought, I think that's that actor. And at the time, I didn't quite remember his name, his real name, Russell, eventually. But I went, that's that guy. I know it. I'm kind of good at that, just sort of recognizing an actor if they're in heavy makeup or years ahead. That, oh my God, they were in this or that. So I was really interested the next day to look up if I was right. And I looked it up and went, okay, that was him. And I was so just sort of baffled and blown away that I recognized this guy just because of his movement. And I was really, really, really just taken aback by that simple truth to me. That I had to look him up. And when I found out that Russell Sams was in Wonderland, and I remember looking him up 15, 20 years ago. When I was hardcore with my Marlon Brando screenplay almost 20 years ago. My daughter was a baby when I did that screenplay. And Madeline is now 22 years old. So yeah, that was a long time ago. I did extensive reaching out, extensive networking at that time. I had a few contacts and I sort of just went for it. I tried to contact as many people as I could. All the people that I sort of thought would help me in my journey to, give me a helping hand with my screenplay. I figured the more contacts I have, the better. And I met some wonderful people during that process. And I learned a lot about the business, just being a writer and getting that off the ground. And in a way, I was successful just by my networking. I had a core group of people that were really interested in the project. And, of course, it didn't happen. But it was an interesting way to reach out to a bunch of actors, producers, screenwriters, just very interesting people in the business. One of those people was Russell Sams. I remember reaching out to him back then, and we didn't connect. It just didn't happen at that time. But I distinctly remember reaching out to him back then. And wouldn't you know it, on that wonderful day in November, I reached out to him again. Why not? And I just had this feeling that he'd get back to me. I don't think I would reach out if I didn't think there was a chance. I'm not going to be cold calling people. It's just a bad look. And one of the other reasons I felt it necessary and okay to reach out to Mr. Sams was when I looked him up, I found out he was doing workshops. He's a coach, he's a teacher, and he mentors young actors in the business. And he was so very passionate about it. And I could tell that someone like him would and might be interested to talk with me on my show. I reached out to him later in November, and he got back to me the next day. He said, I'm interested. Please send me a link to your show and we'll see what happens. So that's exactly what I did. That day, got his message. I linked in my show, sent it over to him. And I also replied, looking forward to hearing what you think and giving me this chance. Hopefully, I'll talk with you soon. That was late November, right around Thanksgiving. So weeks go by, the holidays go by, Christmas, bye-bye. New Year's, gone. And I think it was halfway through January, I was like, oh my God, and Russell never got back to me. Fuck. So I thought, I gave it plenty of time, figuring, more than a month. I'll touch base, be like, wondering if you got the link. And if you did, you listened to the show, didn't like it, I understand. Not for you. Thank you for the opportunity. Good luck with you and everything that you do. If you ever need anything, please let me know. Jeff. I sent that on a Saturday afternoon as I was working on my bathroom. As you know, I redid my bathroom, the guest bathroom. I was right in the middle of that project. And I sent over that message, and I went back to my little project. I'm working on the flooring, and I get, within 5 minutes, I get a message. All right. That's no way it's him. And it was. He got back to me right away. He's like, Jeff, I just want to let you know that I am interested. And I said so. See above in our messages. So I'm looking above and I don't see anything. I was just like, oh boy. Either I'm not getting his messages or he's not getting mine. Either way, I said, Russell, that's great. Something happened there, whatever. I'm glad you're interested. We'll keep in contact and we'll take it from there. So the next couple of weeks was just sort of back and forth with messages. And from what I understand, our messages were being dropped. I think there were certain messages that he wasn't getting from me and vice versa. There was miscommunication going on. And at one point, he messaged me through a voicemail saying, listen, Jeff, I don't know what the fuck is going on. It was great. You could tell he was a little frustrated. I was too. And he's like, Jeff, I don't want to, I just want to let you know, I don't want to bother you anymore. If you're interested, I am. I'm interested to do an interview. I hope you are too. And if so, let me know. So I got the message and I messaged him back saying, I don't know what's going on either. Hopefully we get in touch. I think it'd be great. It's great that you're interested, and that's all you need is interest, right? And I left that message, and I think a week went by, around there, where I didn't hear anything. So I'm like, okay, whatever, He sounded a little frustrated in the message. Maybe he was just like, fuck it, whatever. I wasn't surprised. I was a little disappointed. But I wasn't crushed by it. It was just like, that would have been really cool if that happened. But I guess it won't. So I pretty much let it go. And then it was like at night, around 9:30, 10 o'clock, I get because I left him my real number. Okay. We didn't exchange real phone numbers yet. So on my last message to him, I gave him my real phone number. I said, listen, man, this communication thing is not working. Whatever this is, it's bad. Here's my number, and if you want to call me or you want to text me, do it. And he did. A week later. He was busy. He's a working actor. He's got shit going on. So a week later, he texted me at 9:30 and said, hey, it's Russell. I'm interested. We'll set something up. Thank you. That was it. I knew, oh shit, this is happening. Fuck yeah. So anyway, I texted him back saying, awesome. Thank you for giving me the chance. And I'm going to let you know something. This is my first interview, man. I've wanted to do them in the past. I just never did. And I'm green in that way. So I'm thinking we'll have a nice phone conversation before we do the interview. Get familiar with one another. Talk about some guidelines. Is there anything you don't want to talk about? That sort of thing. So he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. So we set up a time where we could just have a talk. And we did. We talked for maybe 45 minutes, just having a nice conversation. And he said he was pretty much open to anything that I wanted to talk about, which was great. No boundaries. He also mentioned that he had a YouTube channel, of course, and I do too. And he said, well, are you going to video the interview? And I'm like, oh, man. You got to understand something. My show, it's all audio, even on YouTube. Okay, you don't see me. Nobody that listens to my show has ever seen me. They just hear me. I'm just weird about it. And I told them this too. I work for Xerox, and when we do meetings, Zoom meetings, I'm the one person that has his camera turned off. I don't want anybody looking at me. Who wants to look at me? I don't want to look at me. So, he was very interested in that. He's like, whoa, Jeff, that's interesting. When did this happen? Did this happen after you got away from acting? And I told him, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You reach that certain point where you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't see that 25-year-old guy anymore. Okay? I mean, I'm lucky my wife still wants to look at me. Okay? I was just like, what? So I struggled with that idea. He said, I recommend that you video the interview and show it on YouTube. Think about it. And I did. I wasn't crazy about the notion. Okay? The idea of people watching me bothers me. And I think that's what fascinated Russell, is that I was an actor. But that was a long time ago. And even back then, I didn't like people watching me be me. Okay? And if I'm giving an interview, guess what? It's going to be me giving the interview, not some character I'm playing. So there's a difference there. It just is for me. Being me is awkward. I think I do awkward things. And I don't know. And we'll get into that also later on in my show when we get to the interview part. But I want to continue on sort of talking about the steps it took to get this going. All right. So after our conversation that we had, we decided to correspond through text or email. Sorry, that's what we did. Next step was through email. It went from messenger apps to other apps to, phone numbers being revealed. And in that process, it started texting, and then it went to a real phone conversation, and then it went to email. And through the email, we had correspondence on sort of like a guideline, or I had a list of things that I wanted to talk about. And then I told him, I said, listen, because this is my first interview, I want to make sure everything's okay. I have to test out a few things. Give me a little bit of time. And he was great about that. He goes, dude, there's no rush. You got to do what you got to do. And you let me know if you need anything. All right, great. So I went to work with my wife. She's great with this stuff. I said, I got to do this interview. What's the best way to do it? My website has an app on there through Libsyn.com that I could record a show on the site, but it's only audio. And my wife agreed. She said, Russell's right. You should record this with video. So I was like, damn it. I'm thinking, you know what? We'll just go through my website. It's going to be all audio. You know, we have to do it that way. Sorry, Russ. Sorry, Amy. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Nope. Amy found a way. First, she suggested Zoom. And so we tried that. Ran into some problems there. I can't quite remember what the problem was, but there was a problem. And then she discovered Google Meets, and we could do it through there. And I decided, okay, fine. If that's the way it's got to be, that's the way it's got to be. So Amy and I tested out Google Meet. Beep! Folks, I'm not going to erase it. I've erased a few things. I'm not going to erase my mistake. I couldn't say Google Meets. Got to slow down. Sometimes thoughts, the brain, doesn't correspond with the voice. I have to. We're going to take a moment in the actor's room, and we're going to take a sip of water. I got my water here. It's just water. I don't drink during my show. I've never drank alcohol, ever, during my show. Whenever you listen to Jeff Tarowski on the Actors Room, I am completely and utterly sober. Maybe I should do a show in the future where I'm a little buzzed. And I've never been drunk, I don't think. Because when I think of drunk, I think of losing time. Where you drink so much you don't remember stuff and you get sick. I've never gotten to that point. I just never have. I don't like throwing up. And if I ever feel that that's a possibility, you know your body. And when you're drinking, you're like, okay, that's enough. Because if I go any further, there's going to be messiness, problems. I never go there. I always, when I drink, and I drink often, I enjoy it. I never go too far. I just have enough to feel good. Maybe I should do that once. It would have to be a show at night. I can't day drink, folks. I can't do it. So maybe I would do a show, say, around 10. With a little buzz going on. It would be a completely different show, I think. You may get things out of me you wouldn't get normally, which most would say that's strange, because I think I reveal a lot on my show about myself. I think there's some audience members that like that. But anyway, I got way off track. Oh yes, that's right. I goofed up about Google Meets. So I'm going to take another sip. Got to keep the vocal cords going good. And okay, I got a little bit up the nostril there. Wow. Woo, messy here. But anyway, Google Meets was working. The wife and I tested it out a couple times in the evening when we had time. And it seemed to work well. I felt good about it. So the next day I emailed Russell, said, hey, I think we're good to go, man. I'm going to send you a link when we set up the time. And all you got to do is click on that link. And boom, we're there, man. And he said, great. We set up a time. I said, I'll send you the link 10 minutes before we start the interview. We'll just say a few words, get comfortable. Just lightly talk about a few things. And then we're just going to go, bro. We're just going to do it. It's like, all right, man. Sounds good. And what I found interesting is that The last time we connected through email was like a Friday, I want to say. And we set up the interview for that following Wednesday night. And in that Friday email that Russell sent me that afternoon, he suggested that we FaceTime before the interview. And I said that's fine. If you feel that will help the interview, I'm all for it. You know, he wanted to have a face to the voice. And I was like, that's great. Let's do it. And I found it interesting that he wanted to do that, which I found great. Just because he was taking this seriously. It made me feel more comfortable. And it really did. Now, mind you, the FaceTime never happened. It just didn't happen. I thought that would be a good idea. Just, you know, he's busy. I'm busy. Didn't happen. So anyway, Wednesday night comes. But before we get to Wednesday night, I got to talk about that day of the interview. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited about it. I'm so excited that I'm a bit nervous. And when that happens, oh shit with me. It's the same thing that happens when I would do a show back in the day. I get sick. I don't know what that is. It feels like I'm getting a cold. A nasty cold. With fever and everything. Raspy voice. Tight. You know, that feeling you have when you have a fever. I'm not talking about like just that irritating low-grade fever. That's exactly what happened to me when I woke up that morning. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Why? Why would you do this? You know, as I look up to the heavens, or hell, down to hell, I go, come on, man. I've been fine for weeks. I have allergies and stuff, and you battle that. And it's sort of part of your day. But when this other thing happens, it's just so out of your control. There's nothing you can do. You just have to sort of deal with it. And I took like some Motrin. I was sipping on tea all day. Hot tea with lemon. Thinking, this will help, right? Not really. It didn't. And when it came time to do the interview, I tried to just sort of forget that. I mean, there's nothing you could do about it. You're not feeling well. I mean, it was one of those things where your head's heavy and your chest is heavy, your throat's strained. Folks, during the interview, I didn't feel well the whole time. The whole time. It felt like I had a cold. A nasty head cold thing going on. That's just me. My immune system, or just me, can't handle all that excitement, right? All that nervous energy goes right to my cerebral membranes. Something happens in me. It doesn't like the fact that I'm excited about something. And then there's always that part of you that goes, dude, this isn't going to happen. Russell's like this great guy, but, something will come up, and it's not his fault. It's just that thing, where something happens, and the universe goes so close, and it's just not going to happen. So the interview is set up for 7:30 or 7:45 that night. So I'm in the room around 7, making sure everything's all set up. I got my notes. I got my cup of tea with lemon, a huge mug. And if you watch the YouTube video, you can see the mug every now and then, man. I was nursing that damn thing. When he was talking a lot, thank God, I was sipping on the tea. And there was only a few times you got to see the mug. So, I'm getting ready, and I made one fatal mistake. Damn it. The biggest mistake I made during the interview is that I have this microphone that I have used in the past on my show when I sort of went through this period of doing the show with a desktop computer and a microphone. I did maybe 10 shows about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, during COVID, and I had this microphone. And 10 minutes before the interview started, I walked up to that microphone and I looked at it. I just looked at it and went, do I need to hook this thing up? Yes or no? And I had to make that call right there and then. For some reason, I never thought of it before. And I was like, do I need this? And I made a decision right there and then. And my decision was no. And the only reason why I said no is because I felt that this being a last minute addition with the microphone, I thought, what if I hook it up wrong? What if I put it in the wrong slot and it fucks everything up? Nothing's recorded. But I do this 2.5 hour interview and you can't hear me at all. It's like, it's just a mess. So I went, you know what? Fuck it. No, I'm not going to do it. Fuck me. Because that is the one thing about the interview that didn't work well. And that's hearing me. It's not clear. Where you can hear him very well. Thank God. Thank God. But me, you can't hear that great. Now, mind you, in the editing process of putting it on just audio for iTunes and whatnot, I made it work. I worked really hard on the editing process of the audio that you hear on iTunes or whatever it is that you listen to. I would say I probably spent, a good week on each one because there's 2 parts. I spent a week editing both of them. And I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the editing process. I used Adobe Audition, I think. Yes. And it was an experience. My wife told me the basics and what to do. Oh, she was a great help. Amy was great. She's great. Thank God for Amy. She has all this on her laptop. Her MacBook, her Mac computer, laptop. I don't have these things. She has all the great toys because she's really good at that stuff. I'm behind on all that. And she taught me all the basics on what to do, how to edit it. And I just took off and I edited my ass off for the audio parts. And I'm cringing every time I hear me. Number 1, I don't like hearing me. And number 2, I sound like I'm in a fucking tunnel. I'm like, God, fuck. There always has to be something I fuck up. And of course, that's the one thing I fucked up. Honestly. I wish my audio would have been clear. And one of the reasons why, besides having that microphone, was I was so nervous during the interview that I sat back in my chair. I was far away from the computer. Where Russ, he knew what he was doing. He was, if you notice, he's sort of sitting up and he's close up to his laptop. I think he had a laptop going on and he sounds great. Clear as a bell. And let's go ahead and sort of get into the interview. We're not going to talk too much about it. You could watch it. I might have a few things to say about the interview itself. Knowing me, I may go on for an hour, but I don't think that's going to happen. Watch the interview. It's wonderful. Russell gives so much in it. He was very, very, very truthful, I think, in his way. and it comes through. I think there were certain things I wish he would have embellished on. I didn't push it. I felt that he gave everything that he could, and he did it so well. He's naturally entertaining. I found him to be very intelligent. And one of the most important things about the interview was his passion. And that's why I wanted to interview him, was because of that. His passion for acting shows. Thank God. My first interview, and it might be my only. Who knows? There may be several more. And then again, the Russell Sams interview might be it. Who knows? I don't know. But what I do know is that it was quite honestly everything I hoped it could be. In terms of something as simple as not fucking up my first moment. I made a point to have a solid but short intro. I didn't want to get too sappy on it. I just wanted to have simple facts and something I could feel real comfortable doing and thinking, there's no way in hell I can fuck this up. I don't want to start this off messing up right off the bat. I mean, I mess up on my show and I don't delete it. And I felt, God, heaven forbid, like, I press record, right, we're ready to go, and the first thing out of my mouth is like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm tripping over my words right away. I'm like, and Russell's like, oh, Jesus Christ, what have I got myself into? And I thought, if I got through that intro, right, if I could nail the intro, make my bullet points, and thank him for coming on. Boom, we're good to go. And I felt that the intro went okay, good enough that the conversation would just happen naturally. And we had bullet points, and if we didn't hit all of them, great. We hit most of them, good enough for me. And there were only a few bullet points we missed solely because the interview went on longer than I expected. Before it started, I felt if I can get an hour to an hour and a half out of Russell, man, that'd be great. When we entered hour number 2, I felt, wow. I was sort of flattered that he would want to talk to me for that long. No, I was like, wow, that's great that he would actually want to talk this long. Because at that point, we were getting into the 10 o'clock hour because we were both on the same time zone. He's near Toronto. I'm near Cleveland. And we just so happened, thank God, because I thought he was in LA. I did. And that could fuck things up. In a way, for me mostly, because I'll talk to certain people that I've met, other actors back in the day, and some of them are in LA. It's like, oh yeah, we'll have a phone call, right? And usually it sucks for me. We're finally talking at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Man, I'm like, I can't even do that anymore. Years ago, yeah, sure. Now I'm an old man. I mean, 10:30, I'm out. I have to force myself to be awake on Friday nights and stuff. I'm like, I gotta stay awake till at least midnight. Man, what's wrong with me? It's Friday night. But yeah, it was great. Few things about the interview. I wish we would have delved more into his experiences on Wonderland. I wanted to talk to him more about his high school experience. I'm really interested in that. We sort of skipped over that. And it was like, he mentioned that he knew somebody that was roommates with Heath Ledger. I sort of wanted to get into that. That didn't happen. What was intriguing, when he started talking about his experiences as a young actor in a small town. And the scouts from the bigger markets coming in to the smaller markets was something I experienced as well. We didn't get into that. I wanted him to just talk about his experience. But as I'm listening to him, I had flashbacks. The same thing happened to me in Cleveland, where these bigger agents from LA and New York came in. We had a workshop. I did the same thing as Russell did. I had monologues to do. And I remember my monologue was a breakfast club monologue I did. And I don't remember the comedic one. I don't. But the same thing happened where they put you on a list and all the agents that want to see you put your name on the list. And I had the same thing. I had the opportunity to be represented in Los Angeles and New York City. But I was fucking 17 years old. And my dad's like, it ain't happening. You are not ready at 17 to go out to Los Angeles. It's not going to fucking happen. I was just flattered that they wanted me. And Russell had the same experience. Now, mind you, I got representation locally. I had an agent in Cleveland. I had two agents in Cleveland. It was David and Lee was the name of the one in Cleveland. And I think there was one called Protocol. And that was acting and modeling. I wasn't good enough to be a model, but they had me do some stuff in malls where I would wear stuff from Structure and The Gap and like stand in the window as a mannequin. Folks, I'm not kidding. I did that an afternoon or two on a Saturday. That was pretty fucking embarrassing. Putting on their clothes and standing in the window like a fucking mannequin. So I had to, oh my God. The things we do for art, folks. For money. It paid pretty well. And I had an agent in Columbus. I don't remember the name of the one in... Yeah, I do. Cam Talent in Columbus. Folks, I haven't thought of that in 25 to 30 years. Cam Talent in Columbus. And I had an agent in Cincinnati. Don't remember them. I only went down there a few times. Had a buddy of mine come down with me to Cincinnati. I auditioned for a horror film with Dee Wallace. And that was in Cincinnati. I remember that. It was one line. I had to say one line. I drove 4 hours. 8 hours total that day. 8 hours on the road. Because I went down to Cincinnati early in the morning. The audition was probably around noon, I'd say. So me and my buddy got up early, headed out there. It's great that he came with me. What a good dude. Mike Zapier came with me. And yeah, he said he remarked that he could hear the audition going on. Because he sat in the waiting room with me. It's so funny, man. That's funny. And the other time I went to Cincinnati was for a movie. That was for a movie. And yeah. Wow. Having flashbacks there, but I went through the same thing. Getting representation, doing those classes, those workshops, and agents coming in to see you. And we had the same path. He's a little younger than me. And I asked him if he tried out for Primal Fear. I thought he would have, but he said he was a little too young for that. He remembers it, but he was too young for that. And I thought that was interesting too. The whole experience, though. Communicating with Russell, it brought on feeling a bit of spark that I had long ago. I've been having dreams lately of acting, being on stage, auditioning. I'm not kidding. It's really strange. I'm having dreams about doing productions that I haven't thought of or want to experience in a long time. So talking with Russell, we did that for me. And I thought that would be interesting to point out because I was very much a part of that world back in the late 90s. That was my world. And for Russell Sams, that has been his world for over 25 years. And talking with him about his performance in Rules of Attraction, and I get it, that movie is not for everyone. It's not. I couldn't have my mother watch that movie. My daughter sat down to watch it, couldn't get through the first scene. But it's an interesting movie. And even more interesting about it are all the characters. I felt the director, Roger Avery, did a phenomenal job casting and directing, telling that story. And there might be a lot of people out there that don't agree with me about what I'm about to say. The scene that Russell was in with Ian Somerhalder, I think is the best scene in the movie. Before I ever got connected with Russell and I watched that film, I always look forward to that scene. Always. And I've seen that movie a dozen times. My brother says that he and his buddy would watch that movie 3-4 times a week. Didn't know that until a few weeks ago. That's how cult-like it is. If you watch that, you go, wow, that's amazing. You have to watch it again and again and again. It's just one of those films. And that scene that Russell had with Ian, Faye Dunaway, Swoosie Kurtz. Wow. Folks, it's wow. And I even said so in the interview. That's an actor having fun. And although there were moments with Russell being on set, and that was his third project at the time, he said he was scared a lot. I get it. But I told him it didn't look it to me. He looked so comfortable in that character. Playful. You could see it. I found Russell to be very modest about his work. Now, he'll admit that he's been through it, okay, being on the front lines. But when it comes right down to the work, he's spot on with it. And a great example is those 3 wonderful scenes that he gives us. It's pure gold. And you know how I am about on the show, about those gold moments. I think are gold. You may think that's not gold. That's, overacting. That's too much for me. That there's a different. Russell was supposed to be drunk in that scene. Drunk. Not buzzed. Drunk. And he went there, man. That is a role and character that any actor would dream about. And he did it. And he did it so wonderfully. It looks so natural. He's naturally funny. He's got that it factor as well. And I want to point out, too, when you see him for the very first time walk through that door, he's got the bottle of Jack's, and he closes the door with his elbow. Just that first moment, you could tell his movement, his stature, the way he carries himself, purposeful. And I saw that in Wonderland, those brief moments. And what moments he gives to the film. What he gave to me, what he gave to my brother and his buddy and all of the friends that I had that love that movie too. My wife loves the movie. And of all the moments in that movie, I had the honor, the privilege to talk to Russell about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I could have talked just about those 3 scenes for 2.5 hours. If Russell would have let me, he would have hated me by the end of those 2.5 hours because I wanted. We couldn't talk about everything because you just can't do it. It happened naturally in the interview. We talked about the movie, the audition process, the movie itself, all the scenes, his improv ability. I knew it. When I watched that dinner scene, when he's the Siggy, I knew it. That was him. You could tell. That was all him. And when he said, have a good one, and he left, that was also Russell. And many people say, out of all the comments I've read about that scene, they say that's their favorite part. When he, have a good one. And you can hear the actress go, oh. He scared the shit out of her. Well, not the shit out of her, but whoa. She gave a noticeable, like, whoa, wow. Oh, God, that must have been so much fun for him. And not only just having those moments and feeling that, being a part of that, he shared it with Faye Dunaway. And Swoozie Kurtz and Ian, that's fine. And I like them, actually. But for him to do that, sitting across from Faye Dunaway, how fucking cool is that? And he acknowledged that. And I mentioned in the interview, and I asked him, was Faye hard to work with? Because she has a reputation of being hard to work with. I wanted to know that. And he had a moment with her. When he first met her, she's hardcore, and they shared a moment. That's all he needed, man. That's all he needed. Wow. There were so many other things I wished, we would have talked about. But, I mean, we went 2 hours and 40 minutes, folks. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I couldn't believe it. There were points where I was like, because I wasn't feeling well, and I tried to ignore that, and we're into like 2 hours. I'm thinking, man, I got to work tomorrow, man. But I could have gone 3 more hours if we really wanted to. 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we wrap it up, right? Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about with the interview. Yeah, just to reiterate his character of Richard and what he went through in terms of the initiation prospect presented by director Roger Avery. Roger had an idea of getting Russell, just Russell, by the way, on that bed dancing to George Michael. Faith, the song Faith, a song I fucking love. My buddy and I back in the day, and this is way before I moved to New York City, my buddy and I would sing that song. Just 2 of us would sing it. Just one of those things, right? You do. And I just love the song. And Russell reiterating how much he loved George Michael too, and how it was just an honor to do that on the bed and dance, and how nervous he was. And one of the things we didn't get to about that was when it was all done and Roger watched that clip the next day and loving it, feeling there's no way in hell we leave this out. We got to use this somehow. But there was a problem. He felt that because they used Faith, all Russell's movements, all of Ian's movements, I mean, you can actually see Russell and Ian mouthing the words to Faith. They have to use that song. They have to. And you need permission from George Michael to use this. George Michael was reached out to that day, was asked for permission. And how much is it going to cost to get the rights to use it in this movie? George Michael said, I have to watch the scene, of course. They sent him over the scene. George Michael watched it and went, "You better use that." I give you the utmost permission. I will even sell it to you for 10 cents. I heard it was 10 cents. Might have been more. It was under $1. God bless you, George Michael. You are awesome. I always knew you were. That little tidbit. I think that's pretty fucking cool. That Russell Sams can say, George Michael watched me dance my ass off, having fun on a bed to his song, and he liked what I did so much that he practically gave us the rights for free. How cool is that? Had to mention that because we didn't talk about that in the interview. And I also want to mention this about Russell and how modest he is. I brought up a few times that I wanted to talk about his experience getting attention from people in the business and outside the business after his success in that character. Because I know he got recognized after that film. He didn't want to talk about it. Or maybe it just didn't happen. Where in the conversation that we had in the interview, it just didn't naturally happen or come up. But I pointed that out a couple times and he went another way. He didn't want to talk about it. Or he felt it wasn't important. I found that to be very revealing about who he is as a person and an artist. And to wrap up the interview, I just want to touch on Russell's work. He's not a household name. He knows that. He's a working actor. He struggled. And he says things are happening. He works. He does television. He has films coming out. And he loves it. You could just tell. And I was really drawn to that. His passion for sticking with it. He really does have belief. And at one point in interviews, like, it's got to happen. Jeff, it's got to happen. I love that. That what he means is that breakthrough. He felt it would have happened on The Flock with Richard Gere. It just didn't happen. I wish him and hope nothing but success, happiness, that rewarding feeling you get, that means something to him. And his workshops, he's being a mentor. He's being a teacher. God bless him. That's something that I always wanted to try. Teaching. That was funny too. Now that I think about it, I had a conversation with my brother Dave this past summer. And it just sort of happened to come up like, if there was something you did besides acting back in the day, like you didn't go for the acting thing and you tried something else. And I told him, teaching, I think I would have done that. And he's like, you wouldn't have done. No. I'm like, yeah, I think so. He's like, no. Because I just don't see that in you. But just the idea of being a mentor to somebody. Because I looked up to very few teachers. There's a handful that I respected. That reached out and touched me in a way. That, not, in a bad way. When I say that, I'm sure there's people going, whoa, they touched you? That's not what I mean. I mean, they made an impression on me. And there's only a handful that I could say did that for me. And I'm talking throughout my entire lifetime. Not just acting teachers, but teachers in general. That profession, that term, that position, no matter where you are and what you teach, if it's taught with passion, you get it. That's what Russell's doing, man. God bless him. God bless you, Russell. Thank you so very much. He may not be listening, but if he listens to this, Russell, You have no idea how much it meant to me. You mentioned that I took the time. No, bro, you took the time. You did. Thank you. And I hope a lot of people listened to our interview. I thought it was informative, revealing. We were candid. You were for sure. And I thought it was fascinating. It was wonderful. Wonderful stuff. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I cut it down maybe a half hour or so between the two parts. But those of you who listen to my show and are interested to see me do this interview with Russell, it's available on YouTube. You just put in my name, Jeff Tarowski, Actors Room. All of my shows come up. And the whole 2 hours and 40 minutes are on YouTube, unedited. When we fuck up, we fuck up. Oh, there's times you can't really hear me. You see Russell talk about like how he used to dance to George Michael in his room when he was a kid. And like what he's doing there. It's good stuff. Russell gave a lot in that interview, and I wish him nothing but the best. I hope we keep in touch. I really do. He's a good dude. Nah, I take that back. He's a great dude. Great guy. And thank you, everyone else out there, for listening to this edition, this episode of The Actors Room, episode 157. I'm approaching my 10th anniversary, I think August. And so I got a little bit of time, but I think that the 10th season I'm in right now. What a great journey to get to this point, to actually interview someone. There are a couple other names floating around that I might interview this year. I'm thinking maybe I'll do a couple more interviews this year. We'll see. There might be more, or there may not be any more. But it was fun. It was just so different, right? For my show, an interview. I mean, why not? And it just sort of happened organically too. I didn't seek it out really. It's not like I have to do an interview this year. It has to be done. Nah, it didn't happen that way. It just sort of naturally like, hey, you want to be on my show? Yeah. Okay, let's, and there was good chemistry between Russell and I. We're the same age, and it was good. Good time. And I'm thinking my next episode is going to be a doc. I haven't done a doc in a while. I think there's a percentage of my audience that really does enjoy docs. YouTube audience, for sure. My YouTube audience doesn't give a rat's ass about acting. Not really. There's probably like 20 people that give a shit about anything I talk about acting-wise on YouTube. Now, my other platforms, just audio stuff, is a different story. It's just different. I find that intriguing, these two different platforms. YouTube is a whole different animal. It just is. If I want to do well on YouTube, I talk about a doc and I get thousands of hits. Well, that's not true. I'll get hundreds for sure, but if it's a really interesting topic, I'll definitely get thousands and thousands of views. Well, I just get a handful about acting stuff on YouTube. But I'm thinking that there may be a portion of my audience that actually want to see what I look like or how I act. And you can see it on YouTube, the Russell Sams interview. I don't know, man. I just think I'm awkward sometimes with my movements and stuff. I'm just nervous, number one. And I want to explain that the fact that I knew I was on video made my reactions or how I acted different. It would have been a completely different show if I knew it was just audio. Folks, I'm telling you, completely different. The whole video thing added on this weird vibe in me. And that it might have been why I didn't feel well that day, knowing I was going to be on video. That's interesting. Crazy, though. I don't want people seeing me. But if I'm giving interviews, I guess I'm going to have to do it. I know I was like, I cared what my hair looked like. I haven't cared what my hairs look like in a long time. It's just, I don't know. Anyway. Thank you. Wow. I think this went longer than I thought, the recap, but I thought I had to do it. I wanted to do it. And I'm sure there could have been more things I could have said, but I think that was enough. We're moving on. Different things to come. Hopefully, there'll be other interviews. But if not, we're going to talk about actors. We're going to talk about actresses. We're going to talk about film. And yes, we will talk about a documentary that I've been wanting to talk about for years. It's not a popular doc. But what's going on recently in the world? The Epstein world is sort of related to this doc. It's about the business of acting and the whole yuckiness of the Epstein situation relates to the doc that I'm going to talk about maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks, or while I'm doing my research. Who knows? I may not talk about it at all. It all depends. Sometimes I reach and I go, this would be good. And then while I'm doing the research, I go, maybe not. I'll talk about the movie Splash with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah instead of blah, blah, blah doc talking about really cringy material. But that's juicy stuff that I like to dive into every now and then. Edgy stuff. Things that might make you go, oh boy. But nonetheless, something to talk about. Bring up. Why not? Okay. I'm going to break away. Take a moment. Review the show. See if it sounds good. And if it does, I'll send it out soon. Hope everybody is having a great day. I hope everything around you, I know, right? I'm hoping that your family, your friends, all is well. Now that, I'm getting older, just, people being healthy and that sort of thing is very important to me now. So what I'm trying to say in my way is that I hope those that are dear to you are well. And I really do mean that. Take time to appreciate your family, your friends. I went out a couple weeks ago, saw buddies from high school. I don't go out anymore, really. I don't. It was nice to go out, see my buddies, laugh, about the past, laugh about the present. Although there really isn't that much to laugh about right now. You got to laugh or you're going to go insane. It was good seeing a couple of people I haven't seen in, 30 years. Appreciate the times, the moments. It all goes by so goddamn fast, doesn't it? It does. So, appreciate. That's the whole, appreciate when you can. And I hope that you can appreciate more than you can't. And Russell Sams made a point at the very end of our interview to reiterate this. Make art a part of your life. And I say that in my show a lot. I hope it is a part of your life. We need that diversion. It does help. And we sit ourselves down, most of us anyway, every night, and we put in that movie. We put in that show. Put up a stand-up routine. God, I love that. We do that on Friday nights. Me and the family. We'll put a stand-up routine on. It's been a long week. You need to laugh, man. So whatever it is that you need, sometimes you need to cry. I'll admit it. I'm man enough to admit it. Sometimes you just need to feel sad. It makes you feel better. I know, what is that? They always mention sometimes you just need a good cry. It's to get it out. And that's what acting does for those of us that crave it. Russell craves it. And maybe in the future I'll do something too. Bring myself up the courage to audition for something. We'll see. Thank you for listening to The Actors Room. Once again, my name is Jeff Tarowski. Episode 157, done. Tune in next time for more intriguing shows, as I have babbled for too long. God bless you. Have a good one.